We're in full swing of late spring, early summer. The growing season's really happening. And I've talked about this in some other videos that one of the biggest issues that we've had in the last month or two is, well, first of all, the sheer volume of compost is coming out of our chicken composting system. Finally getting on top of that, been able to go through and remove the ring that was on the west side of this whole system. Excuse me. The idea is that with all of the compost and all of the insulation that had been built up in the design that I came up with in the fall, now that it's warm, with all of that excess compost, it was getting too hot. The chickens simply weren't able to scratch into it because of the volume and the heat of it. So by removing that western side, we now have a new design that I think should work nicely for us for the summer. Basically, very much widened this whole setup. And so what I've done now is I put some old hay bales along the bottom, pounded in some stakes, not in a very permanent, forever sort of way, but put this 4-foot material on here, and then following the pattern that worked well for us with our bloom box, or our boom box with the wheatgrass, filled a whole series of these milk crates with compost. And so the idea will be for the summer to seed this out with grain crops that will be useful to our chickens, and on the sides of these to seed them out with climbing crops that can be useful to us or our chickens. The climbing vines will be able to germinate out of the side of these, catch onto the fence and start climbing, and the seeds on the top should be able to grow and then drop food for them in the fall. Now you see that and you're probably saying, yeah, right, their chickens are going to annihilate those before there's a chance for it to grow. I just want to show you one thing. This is a new trial that so far seems to be working really nicely. If you'd follow me just for a moment. So, if you come a little closer, this is a trial I just set up about 2 weeks ago, and so far there's been 0 issues with it. There's a raised bed here filled with compost, into which I transplanted broccoli starts, and then this shrub is actually a goji berry. And to keep our chickens from completely shredding this, and it's worked perfectly so far, we haven't had a single issue, very, very simply, I took some baling twine and tied this bird netting that I got for a few dollars for a whole spool of it. And so all summer now, these crops can grow and the chickens can leave it alone. We can harvest for ourselves or harvest for them. And so I'm going to play out that same basic pattern now that I've seen that it works, and seed out all of these boxes and simply tie off a drape of bird netting so that crops can grow through here for our chickens. So hopefully that should work nicely. Right now we're doing some final sifting of the compost that's finished enough. Let me talk about that for just a quick moment. So I thought I'd come back to this tool. Now I'm going to link right here to a video where I talked about this once I made it. This was about a year, maybe even 2 years ago. Very, very low-tech compost sifter. I spent a bunch of time on YouTube looking for other designs that would feel like an improvement over this. But overall, this is really doing it for me as a very basic composting sifter. So refer to that video for all the details of assembly and dimensions and all that. But just as a reminder, what this allows me to do is take compost that I think is relatively close to being done and put it through one last sift. What's nice about this is it allows the chickens to peck it over, look for worms or pill bugs, any last seeds that they might have missed, and I have a large enough gauge to sift out the biggest of the sticks, but for the most part to allow a relatively coarse material through. And what we're finding this material is not ideal for seeding into, but as a deep side dressing or mulch around our transplants or around plants coming up, it works beautifully. So this wheelbarrow load will most likely go into the garden for Sasha to be able to use as a deep nutritive mulch for her tomatoes that she just planted out. And we'll just slowly work through this whole pile, bringing it down the conveyor belt, sifting it, and sending it out, and make room for this summer's bulking of compost. So that's our update for now. We'll do some more shots in here as the days and weeks go. But we just got 6 new hens the other day. They're doing nicely. And overall, everyone seems happy, getting about 18, 20 eggs a day, and we're happy with that. So system, very happy overall. Thanks for watching.